Have you ever noticed how strange money feels in public places? You walk into a coffee shop, people look confident, busy, successful, phones in hand, cards on the counter, orders flying. But here's the question no one asks out loud. Why do so many hardworking people still feel stressed about money? Why does financial pressure follow people who seem to be doing everything right? It's not laziness, it's not intelligence, and it's usually not income. What keeps people broke is invisible. It hides inside daily decisions that feel normal, harmless, justified. Today, we're exposing those patterns and showing how to break them. The illusion of I'll figure it out later. Most people don't have a money plan, not a bad one. No plan at all. They're not irresponsible, they're just drifting. Money comes in, money goes out, and somehow the future version of themselves is expected to handle everything. But drifting is still a direction, just not a good one. When you don't know what you're building toward, every choice feels equally valid. Buying something feels the same as saving. Spending feels the same as investing. And that's how progress quietly disappears. Why surprises keep destroying people? People love to say, I wasn't expecting this expense. But life always brings expenses. Things break, situations change, people get sick, plans fall apart. The surprise isn't the event. The surprise is that people never prepare, even though it keeps happening. Without preparation, every inconvenience becomes a crisis, and crises force bad decisions. That's when debt enters. That's when stress multiplies. That's when people feel trapped. The myth of I'm careful with money. Ask someone if they're careful with money, and most will say yes. Then ask them where their money actually goes, and things get quiet. Careful doesn't mean aware. Many people don't lose money in big dramatic ways, they lose it quietly. Small comforts, quick rewards, convenient choices. Individually, they feel harmless. Together, they drain momentum. What you don't track, you can't control. Living only for the present moment. There's a popular idea that tomorrow doesn't matter. Enjoy now. Worry later. Life is short. And yes, life should be enjoyed. But when every decision ignores the future arrives angry. Some people spend as if their older self is a stranger, someone else's problem, someone who will figure it out. But future you is still you, just with fewer options. Expensive habits disguised as normal life. Some financial damage doesn't look dangerous. It looks routine, comfortable, earned. Habits that feel small because they're familiar. Patterns that don't raise alarms because everyone does it. But money doesn't care how normal something feels. It only cares about repetition. And repeated spending becomes permanent pressure. Debt that feels helpful, but isn't. Debt is confusing because it wears disguises. Sometimes it pretends to be convenience, sometimes reward, sometimes success. But not all debt works the same way. Some debt helps build something that lasts. Other debt only makes today easier while tomorrow becomes heavier. The problem is that destructive debt feels good at first. That's why it spreads. And once it's part of your life, it demands attention every single month. Trying to look successful instead of becoming successful. This one hurts because it's emotional. People don't just buy things for use, they buy them for meaning, to feel respected, to feel ahead, to feel like they belong. But money spent to impress never works long term. It creates pressure, not confidence. Real wealth is quiet, fake wealth is loud and expensive, and the louder it gets, the harder it becomes to escape. Putting yourself last financially. Most people pay everyone else first: bills, subscriptions, convenience, entertainment. Then they hope something remains for the future. It rarely does. When your future always comes last, it eventually disappears. Wealth grows when your future is treated as non-negotiable, not optional. Fear disguised as safety. Some people aren't reckless with money. They're frozen. They avoid decisions, avoid learning, avoid opportunity. They call it being careful. But avoiding growth has consequences too. Standing still while costs rise is still movement, just backward. The goal isn't to avoid risk, it's to understand it. Trading time for money forever. Many people believe effort equals progress. Work harder, stay longer, push more, but effort without leverage has a ceiling. When income depends entirely on presence, freedom stays distant. The people who escape that cycle don't work less, they build differently. Systems, assets, ownership, that shift is uncomfortable. And that's why most never make it. Why most people stop learning about money too early. Money rules change. What worked before might not work now. And what works now won't last forever. But many people treat financial knowledge like a school subject. Once done, always done. That leaves them vulnerable to bad advice, to unnecessary fees, to expensive mistakes. Understanding money isn't talent, it's a skill, and skills require updates. The good news most people miss. Here's what actually matters. You don't need a perfect plan. You don't need extreme discipline. You don't need to fix everything at once. You need awareness and consistency. One improved habit compounds, one better decision changes direction, one shift in priority creates momentum. Wealth is not built in dramatic moments, it's built in boring ones, repeated patiently. Final outro. Staying broke isn't a life sentence, it's a pattern. And patterns can be changed. The real difference between people who struggle forever and people who break free isn't luck or income. It's the willingness to see uncomfortable truths and act anyway. If this video gave you clarity, hit subscribe. More real talk about money, mindset, and freedom. No illusions.